welcome to Repair Talk. This is Jonathan, and we are working on the iPad Air first generation. You're going to need razor blades, Q-tips, alcohol, heat gun, and in this case, the way that I'm doing this, some pretty intense heat pads. Alright, just like every other iPad, we're going to go ahead and heat up that glass, get it warm enough to make that adhesive break. Now, because this glass is rather large, that heat does dissipate quite quickly, and you'll have to continuously heat it up. And you don't heat up just the spot where you're trying to lift it, you want to heat up all around it, that way that heat doesn't dissipate as fast. Once you got that part of the screen nice and hot, we're going to go ahead and use a razor blade to create a separation gap and use this card to get in between it. Because this one doesn't have exposed flex cables all around every corner, you don't have to worry about really cutting through anything except for the front camera and the home button. In this case, I am trying to conserve this home button so I can move it to the other screen, so I will be gentle at that spot. Now, as you can see, the LCD is still on. I do prefer to work like this, that way that I can make sure that I have not damaged the LCD by removing this glass. As you can see at this point, the glass on this one has started to break up into smaller shards. So what we're going to do is try to go ahead and get it removed without damaging the LCD or the home button, no matter how bad it breaks, and then we'll come back and remove those separate glass shards later on. In the event when you're removing the screen, or if a screen comes in and just has a lot of gaps in the glass, when you go to put heat to it, you can destroy a lot of stuff behind it. So we'll actually use this playing card because of its heat resistant qualities. It's not going to melt, and it's also going to keep any of that heat from getting behind it. So you can actually heat up a section of glass without damaging anything in the actual iPad. Alright, so we have removed the glass without damaging the LCD, so we're going to go ahead and power this off. The touchscreen does not work on this one, so we're going to use the power and home button until the screen blacks out. As soon as it does, you release the keys. Once powered off, then we're going to go ahead and remove the 4 screws holding down the LCD. One of the screws is slightly longer than the other 3, and that is the one near the power button. Make sure you set that one aside and do not get it mixed up, because it will cause your screen not to sit flush if you mix those up at the end. Now what I'm doing here, I do not recommend if the iPad is still on, because it will cause a massive amount of ghost touching, and it'll end up putting the passcode in too many times. It'll lock that person out of their iPad. That customer will be pissed. But since this one is off, I'm going to go ahead and cut these flex cables to get this glass out of the way. Now I am not cutting the home button flex because I need to conserve that and move that over to the new screen. Alright, now we've got that glass removed, we'll be able to get these last screws out. We also want to go ahead and get some of this glass that's overhanging the LCD that allows it to freely be removed. Alright, now that we can actually lift the LCD, I like to use playing cards. I'm just going to cut a small corner off. You'll need a Phillips screwdriver to actually remove this screw, but we're going to use this card to separate the battery and the terminal, connecting it to the motherboard, so we can actually remove all power from it. to prevent any shortages or power surges when removing and replacing the LCD and digitizer. Once you have separated the battery from the board, you then can use your Phillips screwdriver to remove the 3 screws holding down the plate over the flex cables. Save this home button flex, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that, set it aside so I can get that glued to my new screen. Alright, then I'm gonna go ahead and remove the 2 digitizer flex cables that I had cut. Then we're gonna use a X-Acto blade chisel to go ahead and scrape all this adhesive off after removing the last few glass shards. Then we're going to use some Q-tips and alcohol and get it nice and clean. I sped it up to make this a little bit more entertaining. Enjoy! Now, it is very important to make sure you got all the old adhesive removed and got it cleaned up. That way the new adhesive can actually have a smooth surface to grab hold to, so you don't have that screen lifting and causing any issues for your customer. All right, with that frame nice and clean, I've already taken the time to use some rubber cement to glue that home button, guard, and flex cable to the new screen. We're gonna go ahead and prepare ourselves to get this set. This does require some either extra hands or some, ingenuity in terms of setting up basically a toolbox or something behind that screen to help hold it up. Makes it easier just to plug in everything. I actually had someone here that was talking with me as I was doing this repair, and you will see their finger pop out to hold up the screen. Now, it is easier to go ahead and put the home button flex cable in first, then to actually plug up the two different flex cables for the digitizer. Once those are done, you'll be able to actually lift that LCD and put it in place, and also go ahead and plug it in. Once all that is done, only then will you be able to go ahead and plug up that battery, turn it on, and test it. Now, as I said, it is not necessary to have more than one person working on this, but it does make it a hell of a lot easier. So an extra hand will benefit you. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and pop this screw back in to connect the battery. We're gonna turn it on, give it a test, make sure that that new touch screen is working and the home button is working. a little light testing, did a lot more testing off screen. And unfortunately, because of that off screen testing, I did forget to record actually closing this up. So once we have the 3 screws put in for the plate under the LCD to hold those connectors in place, which is what I'm doing right now, then we'll put the 4 screws in around the LCD, which, like I said, the long one goes near the power button, and the other 3 go in the other 3 holes. Once that is done, you'll be able to go ahead and lay the screen down, which again is not recorded, but you want to start from the side with the flex cables and make sure that that side sits flush to the frame, and then push in the other corners. Once that is done, you'll want to put it on a press for at least 12 hours to let that adhesive hold, and voila, brand new iPad. Shouldn't have to tell you, dust should not be between that glass and the LCD, so you got to clear that out too. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, subscribe if you like. We'll see you next time.